Oh, here we are again. It's music time. Musics of the psychedelic and blues variety. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. As I say that again to make sure that I'm actually recording this stream. Hello. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. My family and I, we feasted like warriors of the night that we are. I eat like that anyways. Peace and love. Yeah. Got a fun program for you tonight. Busted out the old Stratocaster. This guitar has been with me since the early 2000s. 2006 to be exact. So we're going to have some fun. Things are going to get Hendrixian. Things are going to get a little Eric Clapton-y. Busting out an old Clapton tune I learned a few weeks ago. I'm even going to do a Christmas song here in a minute. Rehearsing this week for tonight's program, as I like to call it, had me thinking about the future of Christmas music, as I often think about this time of year. Like, what are going to be the standards? Like, for example, 80 years from now, 80 years from a songwriter's death, I think is what it is when it slides into public domain. It's considered public domain. So what are the public domain Christmas caroling songs going to be for my kids and grandkids? There's a whole generation of retail workers that have been traumatized by Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. I got introduced to this song by way of Ashley Tisdale at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But the last Christmas I Gave You My Heart. I know Taylor Swift has a version of that. Are we going to be going around caroling these tunes and scaring people that way? It's interesting to think about. Who's going to be duetting the Little Drummer Boy? I hope I get famous. If y'all go buy my music, I can get famous and duet the Little Drummer Boy with John Mayer or something like that. That would be cool. But yeah, so Christmas song here. I'm going to do, first up here, the song Let It Snow. Had I known that the weather was going to turn here in the Northwest, I probably would not have picked this song tonight, because we're going to do a big snowstorm all throughout tonight and tomorrow. So, thankfully, I will be in this very room working. At this particular juncture in time, I'm doing a different style of work, and that is sweet musics. So let's do this. Things got a little Eric Johnson-y there, but we have fun with it nonetheless. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow in Alaska or the Arctic, but not here. Okay. This one I debuted a few weeks ago. A new song I'm working on. It's a funkier tune. It's called Funkify Your Mind. Gives me a chance to do some funkier stuff. It changes key a little bit there, which is kind of scary, but I think I can handle it. bop. So Stevie Ray Vaughan would end tunes. It's a gimmick. It's a thing. It was one of my tunes called Funkify Your Mind. Still working out some of the changes on that, nevertheless. Still a fun one. You know what else is a fun one? Also kind of a funkier tune. Is my song off my instrumental record called Sounds. The song is called The Monster I Have Become. Based off a very dark poem I wrote. Sometimes you gotta write these things out before you can make something of them. Oh, it makes me feel good. From my frozen head to my doggone corns. Hoo-wee, mama. I'm glad I'm not driving outside right now. Hey, here's a fun one. It's Eric Clapton time. So I always like, there's one thing that Eddie Van Halen and I have in common, and it's that we're both a fan, well, he was, God rest his soul, of early Eric Clapton. Not so much later on Eric Clapton, but early Eric Clapton. For example, Cream. I love Sunshine of Your Love, Strange Brew, things like that. Derek and the Dominoes, like I'm about to do, a Derek and the Dominoes tune. Fun stuff. That random band he was in, Blind Faith, for one record there. Or the time that he was one of the Blues Breakers in John Mayall and the Blues Breakers there. Clapton, quite a diverse fellow. So we're going to have some fun with a tune he did with Derek and the Dominoes. There's no studio version of it as far as I know, only a couple of live recordings of it. And as I understand, pre-pandemic that is, Eric Clapton was starting to bring this out in his live sets. So we'll do Got to Get Better in a Little While. Something my pastor said to me the other day. So kind of interesting. Well, don't you know what's wrong with me? I'm seeing things I don't want to see. Sniffing things that ain't no good for me. I'm going down fast, won't you say a prayer for me? It's got to get better in a little while. 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 The sun's got to shine on my guitar someday. Revolution across the land. Just like Sly, you gotta make a stand. But don't hurt nobody, don't knock them down. Just give them a helping hand to get off the ground. Got to get better in a little while. 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 The sun's got to shine on my guitar someday. get better in a little while. Got to get better in a little while. Got to get better in a little while. Got to get better in a little while. The sun's got to shine on my guitar someday. And it does. It will get better in a little while, as they say. Let's rap a little bit about Eric Clapton. Was kind of God for a minute there, up until Jimi Hendrix showed up on the scene. If you were a guitar aficionado in the mid-1960s, Eric Clapton was pretty much your hero. But if you were a nerd, you knew about this unknown. You would know about him if you read the liner notes to your records. A fella called Jimmy Page. Pre-Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page was something else. He was doing a lot of session work around 1965, 1967 before he got the invitation from Jeff Beck to join the Yardbirds. And so, yeah, those were the two guys, I would say, that, and then for a while there in like the 70s and 80s, you had not only Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan, you had like 8,000 gajillion guitar heroes to choose from. Kind of just depended on what you were doing. But yeah, for a lot of those early guys, including, like I mentioned before, Eddie Van Halen, Clapton fanatic, as a self-described Clapton fanatic. I'm not just making that up or repeating, what somebody else said about him. That was, there's many interviews of Eddie Van Halen talking about how cool, and Jimmy Page. And, anytime these guys reference each other, I just about crap my pants. Okay, we're going to do some music. We'll call it blues. It's another one of my tunes from my instrumental record. It's called Zach's Blues. And blues is an awesome kind of music because it's the most relatable form of music, because everybody, every so often from time to time, has the blues. Now, some people call them the pinks, the purples, the reds, although reds is kind of a euphemism for communism, so probably shouldn't say that. But everybody has the blues. And sometimes people think, a lot of the times, there's this misunderstanding about blues that it's supposed to make you feel sad. But you can actually boogie to the blues. Can you dig it? But you can also go way down in the alley like I'm about to do. Even babies get the blues, man. Some of you parents out there will dig this, but when you lay the baby in the crib and he's kicking and crying and screaming and tearing up the little baby bed and he can't get that milk bottle fast enough, he's got the blues. That's what's wrong with him. But when you strip away all the semantics there, it's the good old-fashioned back porch country blues. Another good example, stop me if you've heard this one before, but the teenage girl who's got this main squeeze, that's her boyfriend, that is, and he's got this brand new GTO, and she wants to be with him every time he cranks it up around the corner to the soda fountain where all the cool guys and gals be. And one particular night, she's getting ready to go out, and her mother says, "Daughter, you can't go out tonight. You've been out too many nights in a row this week." And, of course, she slams the door and hashtag my parents hate me and hashtag hate my life and things like that. That's the blues right there. Or take folks like me who we get seasonal depression from time to time. You know, I got the blues. One night it's waltzing Matilda, won't you go waltzing Matilda with me? And the next minute you're knee-deep in a pile of mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's how it goes. But there's one cure, and that's to either sing the blues or play them on the gat, like I'm going to do. Again, this is a song called Zach's Blues, spelled funny, from my instrumental record called Sounds. And that's how we do that. It feels good. Oh, it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel not blue. That's what's kind of funny about blues. When you have the blues and then you play blues music, they go away. It's kind of like two negatives making a positive there. Or like when you spill paint on a painting. It's okay because there's already paint on it. Or recently I was watching a scary movie and I was like, well, something scary has already happened, so you can't possibly get scared again. It's things like that. Anyways, I like that music. I like that blues music. It's good music. It's good, clean fun until it isn't. Here's a song I heard a lot growing up. It's a song by a fella called Chris Isaac. I'm not even going to tell you the name of the song because within the first few notes, you'll know the song. The world was on fire and no one could save me but you. It's strange what desire makes foolish people do. I never dreamed I'd meet somebody like you. I never thought I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you. What a wicked thing to say. You never felt this way. What a wicked game to play to make me dream of you. What a wicked thing to do to make me feel this way. What a wicked game to play to let me dream of you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you. The world was on fire and no one could save me but you. It's strange what desire makes foolish people do. I never dreamed I'd meet somebody like you. I never thought I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you. Nobody loves no one. That's a good song. That song popped up on the Spotify a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I wonder if I can sing that. Of course, I had a cold at the time, so the answer was probably not. Anyways, that song was Wicked Game by a fella called Chris Isaac. That song does not have a guitar solo, so the reason why I'm doing it here on the Electric Night is because I was listening to it, and I was like, I bet you I can put a guitar solo right here. And so I did that. So now, basically, I own that song. I think that's how that works. That's how Jimmy Page did it in Led Zeppelin. Okay, here's a one. Again, it's kind of inspired by Eric Johnson guitar playing. I've been digging this tone that I use for Eric Johnson. For Eric Johnson inspired things. This is a song called Desolation Angel. Not only is it inspired by the guitar stylings of one Eric Johnson, an Austin City boy, It's also inspired by Jack Kerouac, the beat poet from the 1960s, from Lowell, Massachusetts. Called the Desolation Angels, mainly because Black Dahlia Rue was the working title for it, and that kind of sucked. And there's also a song from like the 50s or something like that called Black Dahlia Rue already. And so I figured Desolation Angel is fine because there's a novel that like a bunch of hippies read that are mostly dead, or brain dead, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Let's just say the acid is not something that you want to be dealing with, even if doctors say it's lysergic and the CIA sells it to you. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, so I figured I could get away with it, a young hip guy like me, naming a tune after a Jack Kerouac novel. Good book, though, by the way, Desolation Angels. Anyways, this song's also in G sharp because I'm an idiot. I was like, I'll challenge myself as a guitar player and play something in a not constructive key for the guitar. But hey, you gotta stand apart from your peers. Desolation Angel by yours truly of the instrumental record Sounds. I chose Sounds because it's an instrumental record, and I was making some noises. And also the album title Tones, which is brilliant, was taken by Eric Johnson. It didn't leave me a whole lot of interesting titles. I like instrumentals because you can basically call them whatever the heck you want. One of my new guitar heroes, for example, a fellow called Greg Koch, has a tune called Captain Comb-Over, which is what kids will someday be calling me here in the not-too-distant future. Can you dig it? How about some Jimi Hendrix? I'll always remember this as like, I can't remember exactly the first guitar solo I ever learned. I think it was this one. I'm fairly confident it was Hey Joe. If it wasn't Hey Joe, it was probably Purple Haze. The Foxy Lady guitar solo was up there. I had the Smash Hits compact disc, which was a CD pressing of a vinyl released 1968. 69. They had to have enough records out there for there to be a greatest hits compilation for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. I had the songbook and everything, so that's when I learned most of my Hendrix tunes repertoire. But at a certain point, you kind of start breaking free from, somebody else's verbatim, and you start kind of carving your own voice on the guitar, as it were. And so that's kind of what I've done here with this more Zach Hval styled version of Hey Joe. The song Hey Joe, is funny enough, is actually not a Hendrix song. People think he wrote it. It was actually written by, sorry, I ate dinner a couple hours ago with a friend, and I am burping. It was actually written by a folk singer called Billy Roberts. I think Hendrix heard a recording of it or something like that. He might have been back in the New York days. He might have caught Billy Roberts at one of the Basket House venues and decided, hey, that's mine now. And I mean, it doesn't sound anything like the original version. So what Hey Joe, as far as I'm concerned, what Hendrix did with Hey Joe, it's completely original, even though somebody else wrote the tune. But I mean, Led Zeppelin did that, though the Yardbirds did that with Dazed and Confused. So I mean, there was a lot of unprotected material back in those days. I'm starting to realize the more I become a student of music history. I digress. Hey Joe. Hey Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand? Hey Joe, I said, where you going with that gun in your hand? I'm going down to shoot my old lady. You know I caught her messing around town. Going down to shoot my old lady. You know I caught her messing around town. Hey Joe, I heard you shot your woman down. Hey Joe, I heard you shot your lady down. Yes I did, I shot her. You know I caught her messing around town. Yes I did, I shot her. You know I caught her messing around with another man, so I gave her the gun. Hey Joe, where you gonna run to now? Hey Joe, where you gonna run to now? I'm going way down south, way down south, way down to Mexico where I can be free. Going way down south, way down south, way down to Mexico. Ain't no hangman gonna put a rope around me. And that is Hey Joe, as ripped off by Jimi Hendrix. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, no doubt. Lots of good versions of that. My favorite non-Hendrix version of that, besides my own, is Roy Buchanan. A fellow who I did a YouTube, did a guitar lesson for some of his techniques. It's been getting some good response. I think I got one more left in me. Do a tune. It's kind of one of my favorite. I don't know if I'm allowed to have... nobody explains the rules to me on these things, but I don't know if I'm allowed to have favorite songs of my own. I don't know if that's against some type of rule out there. But I think it's pretty cool, and I've actually never really done it prior to now, and when I was practicing on the Stratocaster. I think it's a fun one, but not one I associate with this particular instrument, the Telecaster. Yes, but not the Strat. This is an instrumental called Frankie's Bar Stool, off my third record, The Legend of Frankie Bastone. Now, what is The Legend of Frankie Bastone? Can't tell you. You have to listen to the record and figure it out for yourself. But this is an instrumental about his bar stool. It makes me feel feisty. So that would be the last song for tonight. I know you're sad, but fear not. I will be back here next Tuesday, unless some sort of freak accident happens, like the rapture, a random chimpanzee event, an alien invasion, a red dawn, something like that. Heaven forbid, I will be here singing Fa La La. There will be a Christmas tune next week. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to tune in next week to hear about it. Until then, I'm Zach Hval, reminding you that light at the end of the tunnel just might be a muzzle flash. Bread is bread, cheese is cheese, praise God. Did you ever hear the one about the man who's taking his dog to the vet? So, a man bursts through a veterinarian's office, screaming at the top of his lungs, help me, please. I think there's something wrong with my dog. And so the vet rushes him to the back room and lays the dog on the examination table, and he is combing the dog head to toe, trying to figure out what's wrong with him. And he finally looks up and says to the man, I'm very sorry, sir, but I'm afraid that your dog is dead. And the man is beside himself. He can't accept this, so he demands a second opinion, and so the vet runs into the back office and comes back out with a cat and places a cat on the examination table. And the cat's examining the dog up and down from head to tail and sniffing all over until finally the cat looks up at the vet and meows. And so the vet says, I'm sorry, but my cat thinks that your dog is also dead. Also thinks your dog is dead. And the man still will not accept this and demands a third opinion. So the doc runs to the back and comes with a Labrador Retrieval. And so the Labrador Retrieval is sniffing the dog up and down and examining him, and suddenly he turns to the doctor and barks. And the doctor says, I'm sorry, but the lab also thinks the dog is dead. And so the man finally accepts that his beloved pet is dead, and he thanks the vet for all his hard work and asks him how much he owes him. And the vet says $650. And the man goes, what? $650 for you to tell me that my dog is dead? And the vet says, well, my initial diagnosis is only $50, but the remaining $600 was for the lab tests and CAT scan. That one's going to have to sit with you guys for a minute. Until next time.